So it's been about 4 days that we have now had to digest Republican Senator Katie Britt's ridiculous State of the Union response from last Thursday evening. And apparently it is the response that seemingly won't die, because conservatives are still freaking out over how bad Katie Britt's performance was on Thursday evening. They're attacking their party for putting her in the kitchen. They're, of course, saying that she was clearly overcoached because she gave this breathy, overly dramatic reading of everything. And then, of course, there was the big issue that erupted over the weekend of the fact that Katie Britt tried to blame something on President Biden that actually happened under President George W. Bush. Katie Britt actually went back 20 years to find something to be pissed off at, blamed it on Biden, but again, happened under George W. Bush, so clearly she's not very good at this. But it's the response from the conservatives that I really want to talk about, because they're the ones who, as I said, are still panicking over how bad it was. Here's what some of them had to say. This is a Republican strategist that spoke to the Daily Beast on the condition of anonymity. He said, but Republicans watched it with a grimace. Everyone's effing losing it. It's one of our biggest disasters ever. Ever. Like the biggest disaster ever for the Republican Party. I don't know that I agree with that. I think you guys have had plenty of other much bigger disasters, even in recent years. But, I mean, it's a pretty bad thing. Then you had Alyssa Farah Griffin, who, of course, worked in Trump's White House, who said, Senator Katie Britt is a very impressive person. She ran a hell of a race in Alabama. I do not understand the decision to put her in a kitchen for one of the most important speeches she's ever given. Then you have Nikki Haley's former campaign manager, who said Britt's an incredibly impressive, unsure why she felt the need to deliver the State of the Union response from a kitchen. Tim Miller, former Republican aide to Jeb Bush, said that the whole thing was creepy. Then you have Brendan Buck, a former senior advisor to Speakers John Boehner and Paul Ryan, who said that she was clearly overcoached. Then, of course, you had Charlie Kirk and his followers who went after her, calling her the trad wife. And then you also had another strategist who said, I feel like that is the cadence and emotion Britt was going for, was to present as one of these TikTok moms. You would have no idea this woman was a United States senator. You know, a Republican man might have done a speech, a response like that from his kitchen, but we would have heard something about being a U.S. senator and something about governing and something that resembled the truth. The performance was just wild. I mean, I've never, and I was reassured to see that even people on the right, people were rejecting whatever it was that they were trying to convey about women's place. And it goes on. Like, there's even more Republicans that still, right now, are freaking out about how bad this speech was by Katie Britt. And the funny thing is, like, they had to knock it out of the park. They had no choice. And they failed. Like, she struck out. But what's funny about it is that this was totally expected and predictable. When you look at Republicans and their history of picking their so-called rising stars to give the State of the Union response, because Katie Britt was viewed up until 4 days ago as a rising star. She was on Donald Trump's short list to be his friggin' running mate. And now these same reports tell us that even Trump's inner circle's like, yeah, she's done. So she knocked herself off of potentially being the vice president of the United States with her stupidly ridiculous speech. But again, totally predictable. Bobby Jindal, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Those are people who within the last, 16 years have been given the job of issuing the State of the Union response to a Democratic president. And where are they now? After each one of those responses, Bobby Jindal being the first during the Obama years, Jindal was seen as the up-and-coming in the Republican Party. They were thinking about running him for president. Nope, his State of the Union response killed it. Marco Rubio did so poorly that even when he ran for president, 7 or 6 years later, he was still attacked for that. It lived forever. Nikki Haley gave the response a couple years ago to President Biden, and look where she is now. Sarah Huckabee Sanders gave the one last year, and ever since she gave the response, she's been embroiled in spending scandal after spending scandal after only 1 year in office. So yeah, things don't tend to work out well for the Republican who gives the State of the Union response. In fact, I would view it as a kiss of death in the Republican Party. So trust me on this, history is on my side, Republicans. If anybody in your party ever asked you to give the State of the Union response, go ahead and pack up your office right now, because your career is effectively dead at that point.
Our sponsor today is Uplift Desk, creators of office furniture designed to help you work better and live healthier. If you sit all day long while you work and you've never tried a desk that can transition between sitting and standing, it's an absolute game changer. Studies have shown that using a standing desk can increase your energy, improve your mood and focus, boost productivity, and even lower your risk of disease. Build your dream desk by choosing from over 100 desktop choices and hundreds of desk accessories. And if you're planning on making the move this year to a desk that can transition between sitting and standing, then Uplift is the brand to pick. The Uplift standing desk has been chosen as Wirecutter's best standing desk for the past 4 years. You can choose 3 free desk accessories with the purchase of your standing desk. And Uplift is more than just standing desks. They offer many other office furniture solutions, including conference and training tables, lounge furniture, office storage, acoustics, and seating. They let you build your custom dream desk by choosing from over 100 desktop choices and hundreds of accessories. The possibilities really are endless, and the products are absolutely top of the line. They also have free shipping and free returns with free shipping and an industry-leading 15-year warranty. Now, I recently made the switch to Uplift for my home studio, and I absolutely love it. It gives me the freedom to record while sitting down and then stand up when I'm off camera to avoid staying in the same position for too long. I also got a few file cabinets that match the desk to store all of my extra equipment so that my office is less cluttered and more functional. And being able to transition between sitting and standing gives me a whole new way to present videos if I choose to do so. And it really is as simple as pressing a button to make the desk go up or down. My Uplift desk is sturdy, and assembly was a breeze. My wife and I were able to assemble the desk and filing cabinets in no time at all. So if you're ready to make the switch to a desk that can transition between sitting and standing, head to upliftdesk.com/ROF and use code ROF at checkout to get 5% off your order. That's upliftdesk.com/ROF, or click the link in the video description below and use the code ROF at checkout to get 5% off your order.